Okay, gang. So we're still on this conversation around on-page optimization, and there's this whole area that can still be considered more on the lines of technical SEO versus duplicate versus on-page optimization. But I kind of like it a little bit more to on-page because it has a lot to do with what you focus on in terms of the content that you provide on your website. So here's sort of my guidelines for reducing duplicate content. And I think if you're an e-commerce owner and you have the whole conversation around categories and tags and those types of things, it could be a little bit more challenging. We have a different course on e-commerce SEO, but for this one, for local businesses, really the bottom line is don't copy one page to another page and then just add some additional content to that page. You can do it every so often, but you can't do it constantly because it's just not a good look. It really isn't. Google does penalize websites that do that. And it's not like a huge penalty necessarily. It's more so that it just makes it more difficult for that individual page that doesn't have unique content to rank better in the SERPs, in the search engine ranking pages. Next, don't use the same keywords in multiple titled pages. So going back to the bankruptcy example, if you have Chapter 7 bankruptcy and then Chapter 13 bankruptcy, that's perfectly fine. But don't have Chapter 7 bankruptcy and then Chapter 7 bankruptcy New York and then kind of talk about the same thing. That really doesn't make sense. It's really not adding value. Remember, SEO best practices, we're trying to add value. That doesn't add value. But if someone's trying to get a sense of, all right, you offer Chapter 7, Chapter 11, Chapter 13 bankruptcy, and you're using that as titles, that's perfectly fine. You can totally do that, and you'll be in a good shape to go from there. Again, I like to tell folks to lean a little bit more towards the highest traffic terms versus low traffic terms. This isn't a duplicate content conversation, it's just in general. I just wanted to throw this in there because I thought it was important to add, and obviously focus your efforts on adding value. And once you're doing that, I think you'll be in a really good place. As you're building out your pages, whether it's for your services page or your home page, your About Us, always think in the back of your mind, how can I get their questions answered? What are the questions that they're going to have the most, and how can I get those questions answered? And if you're thinking about that, you won't have to worry so much about duplicate content, and you'll be able to provide some really good content that answers their questions and that looks elegant and makes sense. So also one other thing is, I try to ensure that pages are not thin in content. You want your pages to have at least 200 words is sort of my baseline. If you're talking about blog posts, at least 400 to 500 words. If it's just a landing page, at least 200 words. And then finally, there's this whole thing around removing a category base. I know that there are some local businesses that have a lot of different services and a lot of different products that they provide. And they even have an e-commerce site that's connected to their local business. That's understandable. There's this plugin called it's a WordPress plugin called Remove Category Base. And what it does is it allows you to remove the category from your URL structure, because what can happen a lot of times is if someone goes to, let's say, let's say they go to the individual category of your website and they see all the different, pages on that site, it's actually kind of considered duplicate content. And you don't want that. You want to make certain that you get rid of both the category base so that each URL is its own unique URL structure. It really does make a difference. It's just something I wanted to throw out to you guys. You don't have to worry about it so much, but it is something that if you are building out a lot of different categories, it's something that you do have to consider. But I think if you're a local business, for most of you out there, you won't have to worry about that. And even if it comes up, don't worry so much about it. But this is the WordPress plugin here. Again, it's called Remove Category Base or Category Base. And you should be good to go from there. All right. I'll see you guys in the next section.